thing. There comes a point in every relationship where you have to stop asking, what happened? And start asking, what is still happening to my peace? Because relationships don't usually end when someone walks away. They end long before that thing. They end the moment two hearts stop feeling safe with each other. Let's talk about the 4 clear signs your relationship is over Not from a place of blame, but from a place of awareness, because awareness is what transforms emotional pain into power. 1. Emotional disconnection. The first sign is emotional disconnection. You can still live together, talk daily, and yet feel miles apart. You begin to notice that conversations become mechanical and silence becomes heavy. You no longer feel seen, heard, or emotionally validated. In healthy love, there's an invisible emotional rhythm, the exchange of energy, empathy, and interest. But when that rhythm fades, one person starts feeling lonely inside the relationship. That's when people start scrolling more, staying longer at work, or craving solitude. It's not because they've stopped loving. It's because the emotional safety that once held the relationship together is gone. And emotional disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It begins when you stop expressing your truth for the sake of keeping peace. But remember, this silence may keep the relationship, but it kills connection. 2. Absence of mutual respect. The second sign is loss of respect. When small insults turn into normalized behavior, when sarcasm replaces appreciation, and when one partner's boundaries are constantly tested, love begins to rot. Respect is not about control or dominance. It's about honoring the emotional ecosystem between two people. You can't build a secure bond with someone who minimizes your feelings or constantly makes you doubt your worth. And here's the truth. Once respect fades, attraction follows. Because deep emotional intimacy cannot survive in an environment of criticism and contempt. When someone stops respecting you, they stop seeing you as their equal. And that's when the relationship starts dying quietly. Even if both are still pretending everything is fine on the surface. 3. Repeated patterns of conflict. The third sign is when the same fights keep repeating. Only the words change, not the emotional outcome. You apologize, they apologize, but nothing actually heals. That's not love, that's emotional recycling. Every relationship faces conflict, but in healthy ones, conflict leads to deeper understanding. In dying ones, it leads to deeper resentment, When every argument becomes about winning, rather than understanding, you've already started losing the bond, When one person keeps fighting to be heard, while the other fights to be right, the relationship becomes emotionally exhausting. Love should make you feel safe, not small. 4. Lack of growth. The last sign is stagnation. When a relationship stops evolving, it starts decaying. Love is meant to help you grow, not keep you trapped in emotional repetition. If your relationship doesn't bring out your higher self anymore, if it makes you shrink, doubt yourself, or settle for less than you deserve, then it's not love anymore, it's attachment. True love helps you heal. It challenges you, but it doesn't drain you. It supports your journey of becoming, not losing yourself. And sometimes, the hardest truth to accept is that you can love someone deeply and still need to walk away, because endings aren't always failures. Sometimes, they're corrections. They're the universe's way of realigning you with peace, purpose, and people who can meet you where your soul is. So if you recognize these signs, emotional disconnection, disrespect, repeating conflict, and lack of growth, don't ignore them. Don't keep fixing something that's only teaching you to break yourself. The goal of love isn't to never lose someone. It's to never lose yourself in the process. Emotional disconnection is the quiet death of every relationship. It rarely begins with arguments or betrayals. It begins with emotional silence. The kind of silence that grows when you stop feeling seen, understood, or emotionally safe with the person you once felt most connected to. Thing. It's not about physical distance, it's about emotional absence. Two people can share the same home, the same bed, even the same goals, thing, and yet exist in two completely different emotional worlds, thing. Emotional disconnection feels like being alone while standing right next to the person you love, thing. It's the slow fading of warmth that once felt effortless. You start talking less, not because there's nothing to say, thing, but because you feel like it won't matter. You stop sharing your fears, your joys, your small moments, thing, because you sense the other person isn't really present with you anymore, something. The bond that once felt alive and nurturing starts to feel like a duty, something you maintain out of habit, not heart, thing. This disconnection doesn't happen suddenly. It grows quietly through small moments that seem insignificant at first, thing. A partner dismisses your feelings once or twice. You try to express your needs and they get minimized. You crave affection, thing. But the other person becomes emotionally unavailable. Slowly, thing. You start internalizing that your emotions are too much or that expressing them will only lead to disappointment. So, you build walls, thing. You stop sharing your truth. You begin to emotionally withdraw to protect yourself. The relationship may still appear fine on the outside, something, but the emotional thread holding it together is weakening from within. When emotional connection fades, communication becomes mechanical. Thing, conversations lose depth. They revolve around logistics, work, bills, plans, but not emotions. The spark that once came from mutual curiosity, thing, laughter, and understanding is replaced by routine. You stop asking each other, "How was your day?" with genuine interest, thing. You already know the answer won't feel meaningful. It's in these subtle emotional silences that love starts to suffocate, thing. A person can only thrive in a relationship when they feel emotionally valued, not just physically present, thing. Emotional disconnection often starts when one partner feels unseen, when their efforts go unacknowledged, when their feelings are dismissed, thing, or when their needs become secondary to the relationship's comfort zone. It's when emotional intimacy is replaced with emotional tolerance, thing. Instead of being emotionally attuned, one partner becomes emotionally indifferent, and nothing kills connection faster than indifference, thing. Because anger still shows investment, it means you still care enough to react. But indifference, that's emotional detachment, thing. That's when one person checks out emotionally while still showing up physically. It's easy to mistake emotional disconnection for peace, thing. Many couples convince themselves that the absence of arguments means everything is fine. But silence can be more dangerous than conflict, thing. At least in conflict, there's still engagement, still a spark of emotional intensity. In silence, there's emotional detachment, one of the most painful experiences in love because it's invisible. It's not loud or dramatic, it's subtle, thing, almost unnoticeable until the love is already gone, thing. The emotional gap deepens when partners stop turning toward each other during moments of vulnerability, thing. When you feel sad or anxious and your partner no longer reaches out to comfort you, a sense of isolation grows, thing. You stop expecting emotional support because it's not offered anymore. You learn to self-soothe alone, thing. What was once against the world becomes me trying to survive this alone. And once a relationship reaches that stage, thing, rebuilding connection requires both partners to consciously relearn emotional presence, not just coexistence, thing. The tragedy of emotional disconnection is that most people don't realize it's happening until it's too late, thing. They think the relationship is stable because there's no chaos, but emotional numbness isn't peace. It's emotional shutdown, thing. You start living in autopilot. You share space but not souls. You touch but don't feel. You speak but don't connect. Eventually, thing, One person starts craving emotional intimacy elsewhere, not always through another person, but through distractions, work, or solitude. Thing. The body remains in the relationship, but the heart quietly leaves. Thing. Emotional disconnection often grows from unmet emotional needs that were never addressed. Thing. Maybe one partner doesn't know how to express emotions due to their own upbringing or fears. Thing. Maybe one partner feels drained because they've been the emotional giver for too long without receiving the same energy back. Whatever the reason. Thing. Emotional imbalance always leads to emotional distance. Love cannot survive where emotional reciprocity doesn't exist. Thing. You can't carry the emotional weight of two people forever. To rebuild connection. Thing. Both partners must first acknowledge the emotional gap without defensiveness. Emotional connection isn't rebuilt through big gestures. Thing. It's rebuilt through consistent presence, through listening with empathy, through showing curiosity about each other's inner world, through validating feelings instead of fixing them. Thing. True connection requires vulnerability, a willingness to show your emotions and a willingness to hold space for your partner's emotions without judgment. Thing. If emotional disconnection remains ignored, the relationship becomes emotionally hollow. Thing. You start mourning the connection even while it's still there. Thing. The most painful part isn't losing love. It's watching it fade while pretending it hasn't. Because deep down. Thing. You still remember how it used to feel. You still remember the laughter, the conversations that made time disappear. Thing. The emotional safety that once felt like home, but now that home feels empty. And the hardest truth to accept is that sometimes. Thing. The connection doesn't die because of a lack of love. It dies because of a lack of emotional effort. Love requires maintenance. Thing. Emotional intimacy needs nurturing. When two people stop watering the emotional roots of their bond. Thing. The relationship doesn't collapse immediately. It just stops growing. And slowly love turns into habit, care turns into convenience. Thing. And presence turns into performance. Thing. That is the quiet tragedy of emotional disconnection. The end that looks peaceful but feels like an invisible heartbreak.